Today's our guest, we have Ralph Meeker, which is the deer program coordinator for the Arkansas Game and Fish. And today we're going to get into the new regulations that have come to Arkansas. Like you can spear hunt now in the archery season. The straight wall cartridge, which you can now hunt when it used to be the muzzleloader season, you can now use straight wall cartridge. That's pretty cool. Really excited about that. And there's an early buck season as well. So tons of new regulations and things to be excited about. And he's going to kind of walk us through it, break us down, and go in more in depth on why the Game and Fish decided to do this. So we'll get right into it. So going into this deer hunting season, there's regulations changes in the upcoming season that a lot of people are excited about. You know, like your straight shell cartridge. There's a spear season now. You know, and I know for one, muzzleloaders. In the past, I'm not the best of muzzleloaders. So I'm actually really excited to, instead of using a muzzleloader, you know, pull out the lever action, something a little bit more reliable. You know, what do you think about the new regulations and why they did it?
Yeah, so a lot of these regulations were to provide hunters with more opportunity. The straight-walled cartridge thing, you know, there's a lot of states that their modern gun only allowed shotgun and muzzleloaders.
Right.
And over time, they have allowed the straight-walled cartridge. Straight-walled cartridges have pretty close, they're not identical, to the same type of ballistics as modern muzzleloaders. I mean, the muzzleloaders that we're using today are a lot different than the muzzleloaders that we allowed in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Right. Cap and ball. I mean, you know, straight line, you know, we've got these bang sticks that go in the back of them now. I mean, it's
Magnum muzzleloader.
Yeah, I mean, it's the muzzleloader today, and the technology has changed dramatically. So
and the distances,
the distances.
Woo. Yeah, I mean, actually, 250 yards.
These guys, we went to New Mexico elk hunting. It's wild how far they'll shoot.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's wild.
So they, you know, I guess their thinking was, you know, a lot of these other states are letting them. Let's just let them use them during modern gun deer or during muzzle loading season, which is now alternative firearm season.
Right.
You can't use a semi-automatic, so I mean, you still either got to pump it, you have a lever action, single shot, a straight walled cartridge, and it's got to be greater than 30 caliber. So you know the 357s, the 44 Magnums, the 4570s, all those are legal cartridges.
So some of that getting back to cowboy guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't find them nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah. Just
350 Legend, that's going to be a popular one.
Yeah.
A lot of people are asking me about the 350 Legend. I mean, and all of these shells are lethal rounds.
Yeah.
With proper shot placement. And that's the key to anything. Muzzleloader, bow and arrow, whatever, proper shot placement is important.
What do you think in distances on a lot of this stuff is? I mean, what do you?
Well, you know, here in Arkansas, I mean, you could shoot out to 400 yards. You know, most shots, even during modern gun season, are inside of 100 yards.
Yeah.
So that's really not going to change much of anything. I mean, a lot of these straight-walled cartridges, I don't think folks are going to be shooting out past 200 yards at all. I mean, that is pretty common maximum distance for a muzzleloader anyway. That most folks are going to try to take.
So when the Game and Fish looks at this and they're like, all right, we're thinking about putting the straight wall cartridge in, what numbers is it? Because there's less lethal shots in muzzleloader season, or is it because you need to kill more deer during that muzzleloader season that would make you want to?
More opportunity.
Change it.
I mean, what?
Yeah, I think a lot of this was just more opportunity, and you know,
and it's easier. It's easier to put a cartridge in,
yes,
than it is to.
But is that because?
Well, and you think about a youth. I mean, it's a lot easier for them to use a straight walled cartridge.
Yeah, but
even with the path. Well, some of these do not.
Okay.
But with a muzzleloader, though, I mean, it's tough for them to load that and do the whole. So this is going to open up some opportunity for them. You know, shells for these things are pretty reasonable. So, you know, being able to go out and target practice, get used to that gun before, you know, game day is important. So it's primarily just providing more opportunity. Probably what's going to happen, because about 74% of our deer are harvested with modern gun. it's probably just going to shift deer harvest.
74% with modern gun.
Yeah. So
wow,
about 13% with archery and about 13% with muzzleloader.
I guess I figured archery would be higher.
Yeah.
Well, you got to work at it. It's a lot harder.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to do it easy.
Yeah.
It goes back to opportunity, like you said. You know, archery, you don't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
Here, and thanks to sponsor Havoc Boat. If you haven't checked out the gear shop, there's tons of new merchandise on there: hats, shirts, keychains, stickers, boat accessories, anything you can think of. There's fishing baits and lures. There's all kinds of stuff on the Havoc Boats gear shop. So, also, if you have not already liked and subscribed and hit the bell for notifications, do this now. If there's something you want to see, drop it down in the comments. If you want me and Daryl and Dad to discuss anything whatsoever, just let us know. We'll be happy to cover it. But other than that, I think we ought to get right back into it.
And so probably, and what I think may probably happen is a lot of our harvests, or some of our harvest is going to shift from modern gun deer season to that alternative firearm season.
So that's what it'll be. Alternative? Is that what it'll be?
Firearm
Alternative
season,
firearm.
I guess when I seen that, the first thing that initially I thought, and it might not be right whatsoever, but I kind of imagined that we're putting that in there because it would help get people into it if they were like, okay, I want to go deer hunting, but it's like, I don't got a muzzleloader, something, you know, where maybe more people would get involved and more hunters, because it almost seems like hunting, the outdoors, like actually going out there and hunting part of it is a little bit declining.
It is. I mean, the number of hunters that we have participating, deer hunting is still pretty strong relative to a lot of other hunting sports. It's still pretty strong, but we are seeing a decline in participation. Hunting is just one of those things that it's just tough to get into, get started. You got to have somebody or be around somebody that's participating.
Family,
in it,
heritage,
family, friends. So, the good thing about this alternative firearm season is that it is earlier in the season when it's not as cold. You get a little bit kind of first crack at them, pardon the pun. And so hopefully it will entice folks to get out there a little bit earlier when the weather's still nice.
So you're saying less hunters now, or less deer hunters. What's that doing to deer population? What are you seeing on that?
Yeah, so that's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
Hunting is our number one management tool. We have to have hunters in order to manage deer population.
Right.
So when you have fewer deer hunters, you're asking those fewer deer hunters to harvest more deer, which is great to have somebody like Ronnie Ritter and Hunters Feeding the Hungry to have an avenue to donate venison to.
Right.
We can get you bonus deer tags to harvest extra deer. We put more focus on the doe segment of our population because that's what's churning our population. That's what's allowing our population to grow. So targeting not just does, but certain age classes of does, which are the most reproductively capable, to keep those deer populations in check. So it's a lot more complicated than you would think, but having hunters is extremely important. And if it gets to the point where we have such fewer hunters, hunt these seasons like the alternative firearm seasons where you allow them to actually kill them with a gun, basically a modern gun, is going to be very important.
So what's the number one reason why y'all did it? Is it to get more people in the woods to hunt, to kill more deer? Is it a revenue thing? Is it just because you guys are nice? Or I mean,
well, I can't say that.
What is it?
I think number one, it was to provide more opportunity.
Okay, more opportunity for the hunters.
More opportunity for the hunters. Give them a different way of harvesting the deer.
Is that
an easier way?
An easier way.
But you're also trying to put more hunters in the woods, right?
That's exactly right.
More
so
hunters,
you're trying
more
to sell.
deer.
You're trying to sell more license. You're trying to. You're obviously going to make more money.
I'm not.
Well, you're not, but the organization.
Yeah, I don't think they work on bonuses.
Hey, we
It's
need
not a bonus
50,000
structure.
more hunters.
So conservation will benefit. Conservation.
Now, that's where I'm going with it. What are y'all doing with the money that you're generating by doing this? Because there's going to be a lot of people buying hunting license because they, I don't want to go hunting with a muzzleloader, but hey, I might do this. So what are you guys going to do with the extra money you generate off of license or whatnot? Or are you even seeing that?
Yeah, I won't say that.
Okay.
I mean, it'll go into conservation, whether it's, going into, doing some type of habitat work on one of our WMAs. I mean, it goes back into our general fund.
Right.
But
is duck hunting part of it still the biggest biggest part of Arkansas Game and Fish, or is it deer?
It depends on who you ask.
Really?
I will tell you this, and I can say this because I have the surveys to back it up.
Yeah.
8 out of every 10 hunters identify themselves as a deer hunter.
Deer.
Yeah.
Deer first.
95% of people that buy a hunting license in Arkansas do so to deer hunt.
To deer hunt.
So it depends on who you ask, but deer hunting is primo in Arkansas.
So what about the quality of deer in Arkansas? Like especially down south, we got a lot of pine trees.
Yep.
So do you see pine trees growing just more deer in general, or do you see? I mean, how are we going to get bigger antlers in Arkansas? Because that's
a great question.
Because that's really important to states like we go all over the place. Missouri, big deer. You got Kansas, big deer.
Illinois.
I mean, you got big deer in Texas, but it seems like Arkansas is not known for big deer. We are known for ducks.
Yeah.
But what about the deer? Like, if a majority of the people in Arkansas deer hunt, then why wouldn't we focus more on growing bigger deer?
Yeah. So there are certain things that we can do to influence bigger deer. We did that in 1998 when we passed the 3-point rule.
Right.
Prior to the 3-point rule.
Do you think it's working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So prior to the 3-point rule, 68% of the bucks that we harvested were a year and a half and younger. We were hard on bucks. If it had antlers, it died.
The old timers really,
Yes.
really.
So what the 3-point rule did is it protected a certain percentage of a year and a half old age class, basically, and allowed those deer to survive to another year. Anybody that deer hunt knows that when a buck gets to 2.5, he becomes a different animal.
Yeah.
He's no longer that skinny, goofy teenage kid. He's much more wily. And so what that did by default is it pushed deer into older age classes. So we got a better distribution of age classes. So over time now, we're actually harvesting a larger percentage of older age class bucks, 4.5, 5.5. And we don't get the notoriety that a lot of other states get. But I promise you, if you look in Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young record books, Arkansas is listed in there quite a bit.
I seen that as well too. I got another good question for you. I got lots of them, matter of fact.
Yeah.
All right. So you go down here in South Arkansas, you see pine tree plantations everywhere.
Yeah.
Paper companies owns all this land.
Mm-hmm.
So when I lease land, I got land leased. When I call these people, say, hey, we need to put food plots in. They want to charge us for the food plots because they're saying, well, if you put a food plot in, we're not going to be able to harvest the trees. I mean, is there any plans from Arkansas Game and Fish to help the hunter that's forced to lease all these paper companies' lands because they're not in the game of growing deer.
Right.
They're growing trees, right? And the amount of money per acre continually to grow.
Oh, yeah.
$7, $8, $9, $10, an acre. And we're forced to pay these prices, but these companies aren't wanting to help us grow deer. It's like they want our money, but they're not going out and saying, hey, let's do a food plot here, let's do a food plot there. Is there Arkansas Game and Fish, are they concerned about that, ruining your numbers? Because if you're so what I'm trying to say, I guess, if Arkansas Game and Fish is trying to get more people involved, well, you have the new generation that just doesn't want to hunt. Then you got problems with paper companies.
Yeah.
Because the paper companies aren't helping you guys.
Yeah. So to go back to your first question, is there anything we can do to improve the quality of bucks in our state? First one is age class. That we have done.
Right.
The second one is improve habitat.
Right.
And that goes to your second question there with timberlands. We do work with timber companies. We've provided suggestions. There are some things besides food plots and food plots is a whole nother topic, whether it's just a kill plot or actually big enough to provide nutrition for those animals.
Well, we don't kill deer on food plots.
But there are things like daylighting roads, which are beneficial to the timber companies to get sunlight onto the road, keeps the roads dried out, keeps it from getting rutted up. But that native vegetation that regenerates in those open areas along that road provides way more nutrition than a food plot will. When you've got miles of long linear native vegetation, whether it's got ragweed, sunflower, honeysuckle, whatever, that native vegetation is going to provide a lot of high palatable nutrition and high in protein that a food plot provides.
And
so there are some
it's
things
probably cheaper to grow that
it
because it's not
is.
planted.
Yep. And all you have to do to maintain it is, of course, they're not going to let you burn on a lot of this commercial timber ground.
I wish they would.
But bush hogging it, once or twice a year so that you regenerate that early growth.
You know what's funny though? After the ice storm, we had a lot of damage on our land, and we had to go in there with our equipment and clean the land up. There's a lot of companies. I mean, a lot of people just dropped their leases because it was too hard to go in there and make their land huntable. And the paper companies, they didn't care.
Yeah,
they didn't care. And so, do you know how many square acres that the paper company owns in Arkansas that dictates how many hunters hunt that? I mean, do you guys know that?
Most of Zone 12.
Zone 12.
Which is a good.
And how many hunters are in Zone 12?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, across the entire state, we probably got between 325 and 350,000 deer hunters.
So what's that worth?
So probably, probably close to a quarter to a third of deer hunters are probably in Zone 12.
So how much?
See, to me, that sounds like a pretty big.
Yeah.
So
it's $25 for 6 tags.
So what I'm trying to get to, what I'm trying to get around, I mean, how much money is it going to take before Arkansas Game and Fish helps Zone 12 say, look, these guys are hunting pine thickets.
$9 million.
It's and eventually you guys are going to push our customers. We're customers of you guys.
Oh yeah,
right. So what point is Arkansas Game and Fish going to step up and say, hey, you guys, we're making money off of these people. We're paying our salaries. You feed your family. And the paper companies are not playing. They're not giving back to the hunters.
That is a very sticky slope because they are landowners. That's their land.
Because they own the land.
They own the land.
It's their.
You can't tell somebody that farms beans.
I see that. Yeah.
You can't tell somebody that farms beans in eastern Arkansas what they can and can't do.
But you can pay though. You can pay these landowners to help make your customer have a better experience.
Yeah.
So does Arkansas Game and Fish Commission have so I travel everywhere hunting, right? It's I go to Nebraska or a place like that, and they have stuff set up where their Game and Fish pays these landowners, but they call it plots. This is what the land's called.
Yeah.
You can get on Onex or whatever, and these section of lands that is private land, but they pay these people just to set it up for hunting.
Yeah, kind of like we haul ground, but.
Yeah. Do we have something like that here? Because I'm never if you get on Onex, you can't find it.
Not for deer. We have programs
rice
for
program
rice
for dove.
program.
Yeah,
We have dove fields that we lease, but not for deer.
Is that something we thought about doing for deer?
It is. Arkansas and Arkansas landowners, when it comes to deer, is a lot different.
Yeah.
I mean, they covenant. That's why there should be a lot more records in Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young, because people kill trophy deer that they don't want people to know about. They're very coveted about their deer and their deer hunt. So that is a tricky slope as well.
I feel like it'd be a good one though.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, there's a lot of people wanting to kill big deer, especially the older generation, the younger generation, or trophy hunters. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, so I think that a big problem is when it comes to the younger generation getting into hunting is social media, for one.
Yeah.
You see videos and videos and videos and videos over the last 15 years of people's lives hunting.
Yeah.
And you see all these trophy bucks, whatever. They go out there, they get frustrated. 4, 5, 6 hunts. Say they make it a whole season, they're like, I ain't doing this no more. Because it didn't work out for them.
Yeah. Well, that's just to go back his question about the leased land, though, we do lease property. So the Game and Fish, we own about 300,000 acres statewide, but then we lease primarily from timber companies another 300,000. So some of the WMAs, Cherokee WMA, Provo WMA, they're primarily in Southwest Arkansas, but we do have WMAs around the state that actually belong to other people that we actually pay per acre to provide public access.
And do you guys manage the food plots?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So y'all need to buy my place.
Yeah.
I can't get nothing.
Yeah, we definitely need some. Yeah,
you know what I'm
sure.
How do we get that?
We need some major nutrition. Major nutrition.
That's what's concerning me, because we're going out of state. Well, we got a big deer hunt in Missouri. We're going elk hunting. We're going out of state to spend our money. We're spending our money out of state. Yeah. We have a lease here in Arkansas.
When it comes to deer,
but we spend our least amount of money in the state of Arkansas, and this is where we live. If I'm doing it, everybody's doing it. And I just want to know if Arkansas Game and Fish has even thought about that, because you need to keep your residents home.
Yeah.
You need to keep these guys home because you're generating revenue for your own state, and that's what feeds your family. So why is Arkansas
and out of state too?
How do we get Arkansas Game and Fish to understand that deer hunting is important? Since you just clearly said that's the largest amount of hunters.
It is. I mean, and we worked with the National Deer Association and several other states to come up with this kind of a group called the Southeastern Deer Partnership. And there's a full-length documentary out there called Whitetail that we filmed, and it goes into the importance of deer hunting, but also deer hunters, the economic impacts, the sociological impacts behind deer hunting. And it is. I mean, it is a very, very important part, not only to our tradition here in Arkansas, but the conservation. I mean, you think about 325,000 deer hunters in the state. That's 10% of our population. You think about the number of people that Razorback Stadium can hold. That's like 4 times.
Yeah.
And most of those are going to be out with a firearm.
Yeah.
Opening weekend of modern gun deer season.
Absolutely, blowing it
I
up.
mean, it's phenomenal when you put it into perspective.
So it's about $7.7 million in license.
Yeah, but more importantly, those 350,000 deer hunters in Arkansas spend about $580 million each year on deer hunting related activities.
In the
It makes sense between
Yeah.
food
Well,
and
food, hotels, fuel.
gas, shells,
and the thing is, though, that
groceries.
if you take that
leases.
consideration, say you take a state like Kansas or Iowa or Illinois, somewhere like that gets a bunch of out of state traffic too. Surely I wouldn't think there's a lot of people traveling out of state to come to Arkansas.
30,000.
deer hunt.
30,000.
That's it.
30,000.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the WMAs. It's going to be,
Yep.
White River,
so
places like that.
speaking of like White River somewhere, why don't Game and Fish want cameras, like game cameras on like the White River?
So the White River Refuge
I know
is
it's
actually
federal. I know it's federal.
It's feds.
But
yeah.
you guys never like collaborate with them. Like, what's
We do.
the reasoning behind that?
Yeah.
I mean, which you just now can leave them at WMA. So.
Yeah, so that's another interesting dynamic. The feds own property; they're just like any other private landowner, but they're public land. I mean, they're interested in managing wildlife a certain way on their property. So we work with them. As
I think
best
all
as we
that needs
can.
to go back to the state. The federal needs to get their hand out of the pot.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, there's too much federal shit going on.
Yeah,
The
so
state needs to
it's-
control a lot of that stuff.
and
agree.
that dynamic, and I will say this: we work with our feds in Arkansas better than a lot of other states do.
Yeah.
And I think the area managers of those federal refuges would agree with that.
Yeah, 100%.
And part of that is probably the relationship with them,
Yeah.
helping that.
Yeah, and you also have to remember the number of people that utilize these public areas.
Yeah.
It's a constant customer conflict with one another. I mean, it's a battle. So being able to find a happy medium sometimes is
hard.
almost impossible.
It's hard to make people.
And probably is part of it the struggle because the duck hunter and the deer hunter and the quail hunter and all these hunters aren't always. Water might not be good for this, or
Exactly.
Is that the dynamic?
And it's just what one person thinks is a fair advantage is an unfair advantage to somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're in there hunting, and then somebody else comes in there to check their game cameras and messing your hunt up. So it's just it is a constant struggle between user groups. You only have a set finite amount of acreage, and you got a ton of people trying to use it for different reasons at different.
So is that
times.
part of the game camera stuff? Just like with your scenario?
Yeah.
You're set up on a tree hunting and somebody's over there checking a camera.
Yeah.
Walks right past
It's
you.
the
So
same
it's-
thing
so
as
it's
live
checking
scope
camera.
and no live
Well,
scope.
and I don't know how many hours you guys spend in the woods, but I tend to have to relieve myself in the woods often because that's where I'm at, and you don't know who's watching. It's amazing, what you will get on camera.
Yeah.
Either on purpose or on accident. So it's just, people feel like, their rights are being violated because
my
people are
God.
taking.
Oh,
It's a
Well, I mean,
whole-
can't
So-
you can film in public though.
Yeah. So did
So,
y'all?
I mean, I don't
so-
see why that'd be a big.
So in the new regulations, y'all made it the game cameras can be left in WMAs. Y'all decide that since cell cameras are a new thing, so people won't be in there checking the cameras necessarily as much. Is that the thing that went behind it, or is it like we just want to see what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to allowing folks more opportunity.
Yeah.
We want them, marked with their name and their
So what is the
CID
rules
number.
behind it? 'Cause I don't even know it.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like a deer stand. You have to have your name and your CID number on it, or your name and your hunting phone number,
I
so
gotta
that
get
it can be
correction.
contacted. But just keep in mind, a lot of these public areas, we're doing active management, and that that includes control burning. So I mean, you put your camera out at your own risk, knowing that we
could
we
be
don't
gone
know-
tomorrow.
Yeah, it could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. I mean, we don't know where everyone's cameras are at. So and we get problems with people stealing other people's cameras, just like stands and everything else. It's just it is tough.
I get it. I guarantee it is.
I got one more quick question.
Yeah.
Right before we leave that. So, on the public, like the WMAs, right, and all that, what's the main reason behind not letting people feed on them? Is
Yeah,
you think
so
it's just
that's-
too much?
Yeah, so that's public land, and everybody has the right to utilize public land.
Yeah.
Typically, when someone is baiting or feeding, they have
They think that's their spot.
they think it's their spot.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so not only are we creating those conflicts there, but we're creating unnatural congregation of other wildlife species. So, we've got a lot of deer. I say a lot of deer. We have several accounts of deer in northeastern United States getting rabies now. Where are they getting rabies from? They're probably feeding at the same corn pile as a coon that's been infected and getting bit.
Yep.
And so you get those unnatural interactions, close interactions. Feral hogs are another problem we got now.
Ooh,
So when
yeah.
you're putting corn out, you're not just feeding the
Yeah.
deer, you're feeding coons, you're feeding feral hogs, you're feeding
Everything.
everything.
Get back to that ownership deal. I don't know. It was somebody from Game and Fish. I heard it years ago, but about the baiting, and they said how they put that mindset ownership
Yeah.
from feeding in an area. This is my area,
Yep.
and of course that goes along with the duck hunting and a lot of things.
Well, that goes
with
back to
different holes and
our
spots,
requirements
but-
to move your deer stand.
Yep,
You
yep.
know, and
and you
own
can't
it.
leave it. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you can. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone owns that piece of property,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just you. That's
So-
that's the thing we got to
So
understand.
if we're worried about like the hogs and stuff infecting the deer with rabies and stuff, how come we don't like let people go in there and hog hunt on a lot of this WMAs?
So the reason we have shut a lot of our WMAs down to hog hunting was because people were moving hogs to public lands to provide themselves more hunting opportunity.
Yeah, so we can like enforce like you have to kill.
But
it.
there's a
So
law
we took-
against that, right?
Huh?
There's a law against.
can't transport
moving-
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is very difficult to catch them doing that.
Yeah.
So in order to take away the incentive, we
You
just
just
said
take it
stop.
out.
We just
Yeah,
said
you take
stop.
away the
So,
interest.
so does
Yeah.
Arkansas Game and Fish manage the hogs?
Yeah, we've been
Okay.
trapping pigs, but we're also working with USDA,
You must not watch the podcast.
USDA APHIS.
Yeah, you didn't watch the podcast.
Yeah.
You don't watch our podcast.
Yeah,
do you?
we did a whole podcast. About
we did a
hogs.
whole. There's a whole podcast.
There's a
on
hog
this.
podcast. You
I
can
was,
go
I was
check
just
out.
wondering.
I was just checking it.
So getting out of that part of it, that's all just
That's a lot of
a
information.
bunch of numbers and crunching and whatever. But
Yeah.
let's go into the early buck hunt and the spear season.
Yeah.
I want to know a little bit about that. Like, for one, I would think the opportunity being really great to have a chance at a full velvet buck way before anybody else has done blowing the woods out with guns. I mean, it seems like a high opportunity time.
Yeah. So because of calendar creep and not to get off in this too deep, there's probably, and we changed the name. It's called early buck hunt. When we first started talking about this, it was called the velvet hunt. Okay.
Oh, let's rename it.
Because
Gotcha.
folks, they want to kill a deer in velvet. But because of the way the calendar is, it's going to be the 1st, 7th, 8th, and 9th this year. Most likely,
right.
most bucks are not going to have velvet at that point. At least not a full set like that.
They'll have some like hanging.
They'll probably have hanging
Yeah.
stuff. Typically, by the first 2, 3, 4 days of September, it happens right then. And it's not because they read the calendar. It has to do with the length of day. It has to do with daylight and hormones that are triggered in their brain. But by the 4th, 5th, 6th of September, it happens. It happens in that quick. So they changed the name to the early buck hunt. It's going to provide folks some opportunity. Up until this point, our urban deer hunts have been the best opportunity to kill a buck in velvet. And we have a lot of bucks in velvet killed during those urban deer hunts.
I mean,
So
why would y'all want to kill more bucks, not more does?
It goes back to opportunity. We've got a lot of folks that have asked, hey, why can't we kill a buck in velvet?
Yeah.
A lot of other states are doing it. So,
I got you.
So why'd y'all do it on the same weekend as like the dove hunt weekend? Just the way it fell this year, or is there a plan to like change it from that? Because I mean,
That's a good question.
a lot of your dove hunters are deer hunters, so
I
you're
agree.
giving them.
I agree. That was just something that they decided on.
Yeah, I should know if you like thought like, did they think that they're
It's the
like,
same day.
It's the same day, so it's like you have to pick. Like,
Well, I'm supposed to
So
go dove hunting.
the way the
Yeah,
code-
I'm going deer hunting.
Yeah, the way the code was written, it was the first full weekend for 3 days in September,
that's the same thing for.
Gotcha.
yeah.
That's because dove hunt's the first full Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's why it's the second weekend this year, technically.
You gotta pick your poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
You know what I mean?
want to
There's
kill that
only
big-
so many weekends in the year. Now,
Well,
Yeah,
I'm going deer hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can always shoot a bird.
We can shoot dove on Monday.
I mean, yeah, you got dove, you got ducks.
I just always
whatever.
wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always some kind of bird going on.
I'm definitely going deer hunting.
So okay, so you get to go out there, have a chance at semi velvet, who depending on where you're at,
Yep.
maybe. Now spear season. So when I first seen the spear season, the first thing I thought was, okay, like how many people are actually going to go out and spear hunt? And then the second thing I thought was, is there going to be a high success rate of killing a deer with a spear? I mean,
Why in
because
the
like,
world would y'all say spear hunting? Like what did y'all just dream that up or what?
and did it come out of nowhere or did
Is there
people vote
Who
on it?
decided this is a great
It
idea?
just like popped up out of nowhere. I'm like,
Here's my thought.
here it
process.
is.
we already got spear.
We bought
Yeah.
spears
This is
already.
my thought.
I mean,
This is
yeah.
my thought
We gotta
process.
stay with the up and
So
up.
most of the time when I was a kid, I would find arrowheads, right?
Yep.
Well, I didn't realize until I got older, those aren't arrowheads. Those were spearheads.
Yeah.
A lot of times you find that
Yeah.
were thrown.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was what I went to. I'm like, they're taking it back old school. They're going native.
we're going primal here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
So it was another one of those things to provide folks with more opportunity.
Yeah, but how many people have a
Having
spear?
that spear.
Well, now
Well,
in
more-
Arkansas,
more than did.
more than they did a few months ago.
I mean, look at this thing.
Yeah.
This thing is crazy.
I know. Be careful.
And right now, our regulations don't dictate what a spear is. I mean, it could be this.
I
it
feel
could
like
be
you're
a
going to hurt
sharpened piece of-
yourself if you pull the
Sharpened piece of rebar. You just, I mean,
Sleeve off that.
there's no stipulations. on it.
sharp.
So I want y'all to look at this. Okay.
You
Yeah.
gotta be careful.
Please don't
pulling
cut
it
yourself
off.
on.
I know, dude. It's dangerous. This is
This is live.
dangerous.
This
All right,
is live.
I'm gonna cut myself in deer stand.
Oh god.
It's like, hang on, guys. I gotta get my sheath off.
Yeah.
Look at this bad boy. Okay. This is pretty serious looking.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think if you were to hit a deer, relatively good, if you was able to successfully
Keep your
stick
fingers
it,
away from the point.
I think you would probably be okay with this.
Yeah.
But like, you got to think, I got to get close enough.
Yep.
And then when I don't get close enough, I'm gonna be tired of carrying this around, trying to hunt with it, and I'm gonna throw it. And when I
Yeah.
throw it, I'm gonna either miss or leg or
Does
you know
that,
what I'm saying? So
does
like,
that have a GoPro mount on it?
mine does.
Hey, have you
Okay.
put a Luminoc on the back?
It's fixing to have one.
You put a loop
Hey,
on the back of this?
On the back of this spear, you can actually tie a
I
string
guess-
to it.
And right before you throw, you
So I might just tie a little rope to it, spear it, and drag it back up.
So-
Man,
So you're in an urban environment.
no,
Ever with a spear?
no, we do not.
Are
we
they
purposely
legal?
Not in our urban deer hunts.
And not in urban.
Okay.
That's right.
All
For
right.
that specific reason.
Because you're not wanting to see this spear with a GoPro sticking out and run by Granny's house.
That's right.
I mean, because
That's
that
right.
that might.
I
that might
get
be-
enough phone calls and emails. That's the last thing I need is, and so, from my point, do I think this is going to be detrimental to deer population numbers? Absolutely not. Will we have people that harvest deer with these things? Probably so. We'll probably have more people hurt themselves with the spear than actually kill deer.
I'll harvest
my
them.
worry as a deer biologist is that it's going to give a negative image to deer hunting. It's going to take one bad throw to get into a ham or something like that. People are going to take pictures of it. I mean, I get pictures all the time with arrows,
wounded deer.
with wounded
Yeah.
deer with arrows.
It's rot. They're
Yeah.
thick or
It's just-
rotted.
It's just one more negative opportunity to give hunters a black eye, and that's something that we need.
And I think that if you are going to, anybody saying this, if you are gearing up to go spear hunting this year, which I am, just because I want to hopefully be the first legal person to harvest a deer with a spear in Arkansas, you got to practice.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out there with it and use it on an animal, you have to be 100% confident that you're going to make a ethical throw or toss or drop or however you do it to actually, harvest a deer.
Yeah. One thing I would encourage folks, if they decide that they're going to do a spear hunt early or this early velvet season buck hunt, that you have a plan in place. A lot of folks in our state, we've never taken a deer to a taxidermist to get their deer mounted in velvet. So go to your taxidermist, ask them what you need to do to keep that velvet in place if it's there. If you don't process your own deer, most of our meat processors will probably not be open. They're making good money with cattle right now with cattle prices. So they're probably not going to be open the first week.
Which makes sense.
In September. So
I can see that.
I would encourage you to have a plan in place before you go hunting, to know what you're going to do with the mount if you do kill a really nice buck, or what you're going to do with that carcass once you get it on the ground.
Right.
Because it's going to be hot.
Full of ticks.
It's going to be ticks. Make sure you spray down.
Mosquitoes.
Take precautions. That's the last thing you want to do is come away with something.
It's always hot.
Yeah.
Seems like.
And it never fails. You're going to be there because you're just so ate up with it.
Yeah.
The closer it gets, it's like if you have an internal clock that says, hey, you got to go get in a tree right now.
Yeah.
So you said something earlier. I got another question.
Yeah.
So you said that I can get extra tags if I want to donate some meat. How does that work?
So it depends. So if you participate in our deer management assistance program, so if you have a hunting club that participates in that, we can get your club extra tags for antlerless deer. These urban deer hunts, those are no bag limit, shoot brown deer, all you want, inside these 9 urban hunts, because we're trying to manage population numbers, not balance, buck to doe ratio, those type of things. So that's where those bonus deer come into play.
How many acres you need to have to get some antlers?
Are you saying you are the lease?
So so it's a minimum of 500 acres to get into the DMAT program.
Mhm.
There are some requirements. You have to collect biological data, weigh the deer, pull jaw bones, those type of things. So there are some requirements in order to participate.
Most hunting clubs, have an issue anyway.
Yeah,
Members
they do.
killing does. Nobody wants to kill a doe anymore.
Yeah.
So
Are you seeing that hunters are actually harvesting less now than they used to harvest? Because it used to be if it's brown, it's down. Now people are more trophy hunting or.
No, what we're seeing. In the last few years, I think we've had some issues with reproduction, fawn recruitment. We've actually impacted some age class structures on our does. So we've harvested fewer deer the last few years, which last season we're back up over 190,000. So that's good. But what we're seeing is about 118 to 122,000 people kill at least one deer. So our average successful hunter kills one deer. So it hasn't really changed a whole lot.
I'm a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy. So when you talk these numbers, all right, so that's legal deer.
Yeah.
So on the illegal side, so like ticketed offenses, do y'all, when you're doing your numbers, does all that count in these numbers of harvested deer also?
No.
Obviously there's a lot of people that shoot deer illegally that don't get caught. Then there's people that shoot them and get caught.
Yeah.
So do those numbers count in a harvest? How does that work?
So it's very difficult to verify if and when deer are killed. There's a lot of time they catch them shooting off the road, but you don't know if deer got killed or not.
Yeah.
From my aspect, I want to know deer that were killed during season.
Gotcha.
Legally, because that gives me an idea of how effective that season is at managing deer.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't
because there's not really a poacher survey.
That's
hey
right.
guys, if you shot an illegal deer, check here. How many? That's not a thing.
I can't. Yeah.
It'll be anonymous. Somebody will know.
Somebody probably would.
I do feel like if you put
fill it out.
I feel like if you put the survey out, people would fill that out.
I would say this though, in respect to our checking deer, we've been checking deer here in Arkansas since 1938. We've had so our hunters, we've had several generations of folks that know that you tag it, you check it.
Yep.
That's what you do here.
Yep.
A lot of other states are just now implementing mandatory checking, so they have a very low compliance rate.
Yep.
So until these last few years of debacle that we've had with game check system, I think we've had really, really good compliance, upwards probably 95+%.
Yeah.
I don't know what this last couple of years has done to our compliance. I would encourage folks to continue to check deer because that's important information to us.
Otherwise, you won't know.
That's exactly right.
It's a big ticket if you don't put a tag on it before you move it.
Right.
That's right.
And I got another question because we're almost running out of time and there's so much to talk about. But drone recovery.
Yeah.
in Arkansas, I'm not even sure if it's legal or not legal. Is it legal in
Yes.
Arkansas to do like thermal drone recovery?
So here's the deal with that. What our regulations say that you cannot assist people in hunting.
Oh,
However,
okay.
so if you make a shot on that deer and they come out with their drone and they find that deer and that thing's still alive, it's over. They cannot guide you to that deer. If they find that deer and they can determine,
But what if it's wounded?
well, you'll be able to know.
So they can't
You'll be
go
able
if
to-
it's wounded. They can't go. You can't be like, "Hey, deer's over there. You need to
That's
go."
right. That at that point you are guiding.
It's done.
That's-
Yeah.
you
So
know.
they have the only way they will tell you where your deer's at is if they find it on a thermal drone and then they say, yes, I confirm the deer appears to be dead
Yes,
and is right there.
Yes.
And then you go in, you can
Yeah.
retrieve your deer.
I can retrieve the deer.
So
at that
why
point.
wouldn't they do it? I mean, why wouldn't they want the deer to be recovered by drone?
Like say it was wounded, shot in the
Yeah.
back leg.
Why wouldn't?
or-
I mean, I don't understand that.
So
Because then
it
you
depends.
end up- like
so
you end up
wound
tracking it.
wound is a
So
it's
are
a
you?
very generic term. So what if you make bad shot back leg and you jump it up and you keep running it? Well, then you find it again with a drone. I mean, you push it for miles at that point and you never recover it. I mean, so there's a lot of
So
variation.
you think the deer's going to recover?
Oh yeah, they can.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
I've
like.
seen deer with 3 legs. Legs
So-
have shot off and they recovered.
So is that why you guys?
So-
did that?
Yeah, so it's a matter of ethics.
Okay.
I mean,
Like, okay, you weren't successful because
Yeah.
the deer's still alive. We're going to give them a chance to live here.
So
So we're
what
not
about-
going to push them.
What about
Yeah.
that deer jumps? Like if you push the drone over, the deer kind of stands up and then it falls back down.
yeah. So
Can
at
you
that
go in there
point,
and like shoot it or cut its neck.
so at that point, the person that's operating the drone said, "Hey, I found your deer. I think it's still alive. It's probably mortally wounded. Just give it more time."
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then once you give it more time, then go in and look for it.
I
So,
got you.
I mean, it's just a matter because you're thinking from an officer standpoint. He finds somebody with a drone. They don't know if
Yeah,
they're
what do you-
tracking a
can you-
deer.
What,
can you-
what are you doing
Yeah,
right
what,
now?
what are you doing?
Can you
doing?
drone recover on public land?
Not on federal land. On public land, you can drone recover, but they cannot charge you a fee. So there cannot be any commercial activity going
So
on.
I would have to personally have my drone license. I would have the thermal drone myself,
Yes.
and then I could retrieve my own deer with the drone.
Yes.
And it has to be dead.
it
You
has
can
to be
go
dead.
help. You can go help them out though. Somebody like a buddy called you.
I
You just
got
can't
you.
charge them. They
I
just
got
Good
you.
charge
For
free.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just doing it.
Yeah, but on
for
federal
deer.
certain on all federal properties, it's no.
I got one more question.
Yeah.
Since you're a biologist. So what was the reasoning? I don't think it's now, but like the doe season was after the rut. Like who thought that was a great idea? I'm seriously like who thought that was the best idea to have the doe?
They're just trying to kill more deer.
All right, so you ready?
Because like what if that big
My
buck
big
bred a
shooter.
doe?
So here we go.
I mean, I'm sure there's a good logic. That's why I'm
It,
asking.
it
This
is, and it is.
because everybody wonders that.
So listen to this one.
Okay.
So we put the doe season in October for 5 days
Hmm.
when we first did the private lands antlers only hunt. It was very weather dependent. So harvest was in between 5 and almost 12,000 deer. The focus of that hunt was number one, to better balance buck to doe ratios by shooting more does, but also to, and that in turn would increase rutting activity, which folks would end up killing more big bucks. The second
Right.
thing was to save fawns, or primarily button bucks, because of the size differential between the fawn and the doe at that time. So what we found after about 7 years of that happening was, number one, the number of old age class bucks was not happening. We weren't killing any more old age class bucks because of that hunt. Number two, we were killing just as many does without that hunt as we were with the hunt.
Mhm.
And then the number of button bucks being harvested after we implemented that hunt, it was the same. So that hunt really had no effect on deer management, because those folks were killing those deer later on in the year anyway.
Yeah.
If you know anything about deer biology, the rut is when reproduction is happening.
Yeah.
So over 65% of our does were being harvested after the rut. So they were just as pregnant then as when you kill them in December.
Yeah.
So we moved the hunt to December because we knew fewer people would actually kill does, because their 3-day Christmas hunt was right before that. And it's more of a random harvest of does. The fawns are just as big as the does at that point. So we weren't actually targeting our most productive females.
Gotcha.
And we were only harvesting like 2,000 a year. So you can either kill 10,000 that are not having fawns at all, going to have fawns at all, or you can kill 2,000 that are pregnant. So management wise, it was just as effective at achieving our management goals. So it was moved. We did away with it this year because we saw this dip in harvest this last few years, and we're like, let's ease the pain a little bit. Let's just do away with those does being harvested. Hopefully, our fawn to doe ratios will come back up. Our recruitment will come back up. We'll get on a better trajectory, and if we need to implement that again, then we can do it again. It's not something set in stone that we have to do every year. It was just a management tool. We tried it in October. We tried it in December. It helped us, harvest more does, but not statistically any different than they would have when we didn't have the hunt.
And we're talking a lot about like numbers.
Yes.
Like harvested. How overpopulated are we with deer?
Yeah, I mean,
how bad is it?
So it depends on who you talk to. I mean,
from data points.
Yeah, from my aspect, when we look at hunter observation, hunters are out in the woods collecting data. How many does they see, how many bucks they see, how many fawns they see. When you get below 1 deer per hour, people start getting kind of disgruntled. When you get above about 3 deer per hour, populations are probably getting out of whack. Right now, we're right there in that 1.25 to 2 deer per hour in most places in the state. So we're probably right where we need to be.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And a lot. Now,
if
there are
that
pockets of deer. There are pockets.
Yeah.
I mean, deer are not.
If that ever got way out of control, would it ever be like you have to kill your doe before you
that
can,
would be difficult for us to track statewide.
That'd just be too difficult to even go down that.
We do have some WMAs that are like that right now, but statewide, I mean, it would be very difficult for us to track.
Yeah. That would be more doe killed.
Yeah, because people could just tag it a doe.
You could just,
But that's the thing. If you remember back to what I said earlier, the average successful hunter harvests 1 deer. You're going to harvest a buck, you're going to harvest a doe.
Yeah.
So it all comes out in the wash anyway.
Which is crazy that people only kill 1 deer. Like, I feel like I can just go out there for a day and.
Yeah, but it's not very many people like you.
I'm just saying though, in general.
There's not as many killers.
Yeah.
That's crazy though.
Which, I mean, I look back, and we've killed deer, but I would say in the last probably 5 years we haven't killed as many deer in Arkansas.
We took 1 deer
other
off
places.
We took 1 buck off our place.
But you could,
but you could shoot doe if you wanted to.
You just don't.
I just don't want.
Right, we don't.
Yeah.
So I guess we're part of the
That's
numbers
what
that
you
are
call
screwing
me.
stuff up.
I know.
That's what you just called me for.
We're the problem.
So
Yeah, we
over the
bring
last
Daryl
5
in
years,
even averages.
y'all have caused this thing to be off by like 50 deer.
Well, Daryl,
Single-handedly.
you have a lot of kids.
Single-handedly.
They like deer.
They like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we kill.
Yeah.
I know one
kill my
thing.
deer.
I know one thing. With this weather being cool like it is, I'm ready.
Hey,
Oh yeah.
Do you see inflation making people deer hunt more for deer meat?
During COVID, we did absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
The year of COVID, 2020, that was
Yeah.
our number 1 deer harvest all time.
Really?
216,000
Record year.
plus. The record year.
Wow.
It was also, we saw a huge increase in license sales. People, that's what they were doing. They were socially distancing by getting out and
Outside, outdoors.
So
Well, boat sales. We
Both cells were
Yeah.
good.
Same thing.
it was
Yeah.
wild.
I mean, both cells are good now, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
and
they're
when COVID happened, the cost of beef, pork,
constant.
chicken, all of that went up, and so people were killed more deer. Each deer hunter killed more deer per person.
I bet.
And
Well,
then-
I think we did too.
Cause and effect.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of where we're at now in our deer numbers, is because we were kind of on a downhill. We had some impacts to our population, our age class structure, and our females prior to COVID. COVID happened. We got a ton more people out in the woods. We kicked the deer population when it was starting to go down. And so we saw a spike in deer harvest, and now we're starting to reel back from that, a couple of double whammy. And so our harvest is starting to go back up.
Wow.
We just got to make hunting fun again.
That's right.
Make hunting fun.
And I think that's, the spears, the straight walled cartridges, the early season buck hunt.
Make it exciting.
I think
huh?
that was the interest to make it exciting.
Next thing we'll have boomerangs.
Do you just love deer? Like, how did you end up where you're setting with getting
Man,
fish.
that's a long story, but yeah, I mean, I was a deer hunter long before I was a deer biologist.
Yep.
I've killed either through my job or just through hunting deer in 58 counties of our state.
How many of those are night?
I won't say.
I'm just kidding.
I mean,
Oh.
yeah,
Some
some of them have been.
I'm just
Some of them have. But I mean,
He did hesitate.
I have been all over the state hunting, and it's just. I mean,
Bow, rifle.
all
What's
of
your?
it, all of it. I love to bow hunt.
Yep.
I don't get the opportunity, especially early season,
Yep.
because when muzzleloading alternative firearm season starts, I'll work from then until middle of September or middle of December every day.
So
Working
you weren't a
check
kid
stations.
hunting and saying, "I'm going to work for the Game and Fish one day. This is my goal."
No, not when I was a kid. I enjoyed being in the outdoors. I mean, I did everything outdoors. Did a
So
lot
now
of
you kind of get
backpacking.
paid to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
might be your dream
And,
job.
You know, it's interesting. You know, people are like, "Oh, this is the dream job." Well, I got into it to manage deer, but it turns out that you're managing people
People.
more.
I can see that.
And
That's
it's
a hard-
difficult
Well-
because a lot of our personalities, we are, and we're
Well
scientists, so we
said.
want to manage the resource, but there are so many interest groups that want their piece of the pie to participate how they feel like they should, and so
Oh, man.
it's a balance. It's a very delicate balance.
Well, when you look at nature, people are always the worst part of it. Typically,
Well-
what's natural is natural, and then people come in and they either ruin it or they make it better.
Yeah,
But a lot of times people ruin stuff.
and
Oh, they do run stuff.
and that's the difficult part of this job is that most people hunt and fish on their free time. The
Yeah.
last thing they want to do is to be told what they can and cannot be doing on their free time.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the aggravation, I think, with people in the game and fish is that, hey, they're not at work. They're not doing what they have to be doing. They're out doing what they want to be doing, enjoying, relaxing, enjoying the outdoors.
And I
but there
think
are
there's
rules that they
Game and
still got.
Fish gets a lot of negatives, so we do appreciate everything, the hard
absolutely.
work y'all do, and
Appreciate it.
working as hard as you do. Because I mean, you hear a lot of negative,
Yeah.
and that's unfortunately that's just
Yeah.
nature of the beast
That
sometimes.
is the nature of the
So-
beast.
Yeah, old green jeans scares me.
I know it. I know it.
Me
I see
too.
one.
I got a lot of gray in my beard, but I'm really only about 25, 26. So,
I seen you
That's
walking.
from, that's from managing the people.
I seen you walking door with the green shirt on. I'm like, oh god.
You look good for 21. You
I
know,
appreciate
I
that.
about ran away when
I seen the green shirt walking. I'm like, God,
I was on the telephone. I was like, shit.
scared of them.
yeah, I do.
Yeah, I see one in the grocery store. And like, put one of those turkeys.
Oh, yeah.
back. We're only allowed one.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That dude don't play.
Well,
I know it's frozen, but we're only allowed one. Put it back.
Before we get off here, I was gonna give you some stuff out of the gear shop.
Awesome.
Hopefully it's
Appreciate
hunting
that.
season. You can have a hat,
Absolutely, man.
orange hunting hat, and all this stuff's on the gear shop. Y'all
Awesome.
check it out if you haven't.
Thank you guys.
And we appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
I think we're out of time, but I think we're all geared up, excited for bow season.
Absolutely.
Early buck season now.
Early
It's
buck
not
season.
velvet, buck.
Early buck.
And hopefully we all have a good season. Hopefully people buy their license to go out there and hunt.
Yeah.
You see the numbers come up, and all the deer herds, everything's growing and good.
Yeah. I would just tell folks, number one, be careful. You want to be able to go back out there and enjoy it again.
Wear your tree safety harnesses.
Oh,
Safety
yeah,
harnesses.
safety harnesses.
Just realize, God created this for everybody, and enjoy it. You always wish, when you're sitting and watching TV or whatever, that you're outside doing something. So take advantage of it. It's out there for everybody to enjoy, and be careful.
Absolutely.
100%.
We'll end it with that, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and catch you on the next one.